Hello and welcome to a new video with me, TomB92. We're trying something different today. I'm going to show you how my building has gone to what it is today. So if you're not familiar with my series, with my channel, this is my latest base. This is on the Autocraft server season 3. And these are all the builds that I put together as part of the series. And this is a base I'm very happy with and how it's looked. But what I'm going to do is go back to some of my old worlds and figure out just how we got here. So we're on Bedrock. I was a Bedrock player and Xbox. And we're going to start off with the oldest world I could manage to get a copy of. And that's over here. And this is very Minecraft 2012, isn't it? I actually don't know the origin of this world, but I mean, if you go from my Autocraft world to this, you'd be wondering what happened. I'm just so intrigued to know what we did. Oh, we've got some tools. I obviously liked the idea of having single chests. We've got a bed. Didn't bother putting a floor in, so we just got a random like wall design. Dug up items, that is very useful, Tom. Heading upstairs, we've got a glass ceiling. At least we've got a brewing stand. And oh dear, I guess I didn't really know how to enchant because look at that. Oh my, what on earth did I do? I got some cake for the door. And I think this is my mine entrance. No idea what this is. What do you reckon I'm doing here? No idea. Oh, I do remember this. I remember spending a lot of time on this. This was a chicken farm, but obviously the chickens aren't there anymore. And the eggs would drop down here. I do remember doing that. I did that a few times around. Farming? Well, what was going on here? Why do I not know how to put a farm together? And what's over here? Okay, a stable's got a horse and a little pen. Okay. And yeah, I guess this is where we begin. I mean, it can only get better. You've seen it does get better. Is there any paths? Well, that's a really useful path. I use doors. I use doors instead of fence gates. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. Okay, so this is the oldest world we can find. Let's skip ahead to the next one. And we now have moved on to another world, and this is probably where things started getting a bit better for me. This was a realm that I managed and ran, called TBR Craft, and I have to admit, I remember getting burnt out with this. I went too big. I went way over the top with my plans. I had the detail in with the pathways, nice little windmill. Not too sure on the nether wart, but it is there. Now, what I do remember with this place is building the cliff. So everything around here I placed, and bearing in mind this is on controller, like this is not with a keyboard. This took a long time, and you can see here, we just kind of stopped because we got burnt out. But I remember putting this wall design together, happy with that wall design, and then we'd marked out where we were going to put some towers, and then up here we were going to build like a village or a town, but yeah, just too much in the end. So got a lovely little portal design. I do remember finding that online and adapting some of the decorations for that. Nice little gate tower. I mean, this looks relatively similar to some of the stuff on large Biomes series without actually knowing it is. Nice little design there. I think we then go down to some of our industrial work down here. I always did like my redstone. So we've got pumpkins, we've got sugarcane. Oh, I remember the sugarcane farm. I think that was probably a Silent Whisperer design. We've got our iron farm and everything coming into the middle. I do remember really enjoying having my storage in one place. This used to be like my AFK spot, and it's probably something I'm going to do in the future series because it's just nice having everything come to a central point. So So we're obviously talking the start of Dripstone Caves and Cliffs update here. Got some donkeys, don't know why I kept some donkeys. Now I am also gonna fly over to the shopping district, so I remember being very proud of the shops that I put together in this world. This store here was mine. I remember we're kind of touching on some of the gradients, getting in a few different textures. I think similar designs we'll start to see as time goes on with the fence gates and so on. Typical me, didn't really have much of an interior, but my second store on this server, or this realm, was this here, and this was my Guardian store, and it's quite a brave colour palette, but it actually comes together quite nicely. Got a little boat hanging off a crane, it's not bad. We've got some use of end bricks, prismarine and the acacia, some red sandstone, some jungle. I have to admit it does kind of come together. I remember I took over rockets because whoever was selling them ran out, and I'm pretty sure this is like mirror of an interior of the Guardian store I made on Autocraft. So this was TBR Craft, and I think this is the last world I have access to on Bedrock. So let's hop over to Jabba. We're going to head into the New Beginnings world. And we're starting in a very random place, but this is New Beginnings. This was my first venture on to YouTube. So let's just fly out. I'm still in survival. This was the start to where our base was going to be. So again, this was heavily inspired by some research online, and we wanted to move into some colourful builds, but we wanted to get back to texturing. Also wanted to keep things small. I remember wanting to keep things small on this series so we could get more detail in. We've got a lot of different variations in here that piece together very nicely. Again, Netherwater as a decoration, I don't know, looking back on it, I'm not a fan of, but I must have been at the time. And then over this side was where we started to really get into some nice detail. And I remember I had so many exciting plans for this, and then we moved on to an SMP and things kind of fell down. But I remember I created this lighthouse design that was fully my own design after having looked online for somewhere. We got the trees, which are heavily inspired by Corrales, and we've made like a little platform out here. It's like a little visitor's perch. Look out onto the sea. We've made up some custom terrain out there, and then we've got our builds that we also put together. And like I say, we're talking kind of Italian coastal line was what I had my inspiration for. So we were starting with bright colours, and we were trying to get in the palettes and the gradients, and you can see I've really started to do that here. We've started with the terracotta into the concrete, bit of wall, bit of concrete powder up the top here, but we're still keeping the design, we're still keeping the detail, and we're still able to make it look pretty. I think this one was one of the last builds that I did on the world, and it's quite an interesting gradient here again with concrete. I haven't built with concrete for quite a while, so I kind of forget how it comes together. And then we used the scaffolding for the windows, which is nice. I think that's a feature I'm going to start bringing back. And then I remember we had the interior. I think this was villagers up here. Yeah, we got our villagers and whatnot. I remember hating moving villagers when we moved from Bedrock to Java. And then we've got this one. I'm going to have a sleep. I remember being really happy with this because the idea with this is white, and we tried texturing this, and this isn't a very big build, so sometimes textures on those big builds can really come across quite brash and quite harsh to the eye, but this comes together quite nicely. We started with the white kind of at a flat level, and then as the build got down and lower, we went into like a yellow, so we've got a bit of sandstone, a bit of sand and a bit of birch. And the one things again that I started to realise as we were getting into more of this is that the darker colours really are needed to bring out the light colours. We really bring out the whites. We can make it look a lot more visible to the eye when you've got your dark oak over here, for example, and you've got your brick on the roof. And if we enter up here, roofs are still not my forte. Like, I do struggle, but here we tried with different angles. So we've obviously got a bit of setback here, and we tried getting in some terracotta with some granite and some brick, and it did alright. Over here we just got the copper, and over here we've just got the spruce. I think we have one more build in this base to go and look at. Let's go see that first build that we did on YouTube. Yeah, this is familiar. Yes. Let's head outside. This. Yes. This was the start of YouTube. This was where it all began. And we had this build up here. Now I think I need to put the resource pack on for better leaves, because these trees really look bare. But when you've got the resource pack on, they look a lot fuller. So I was obviously playing with that resource pack. And how beautiful is this actually? Like, I forgot about this. This was my mine entrance. This is really nice. Like, again, this is quite harsh, but in the color choice, in the palette, but it's really nice. It's like a broken down hut, and we've used hay bales, we've used dirt, coarse dirt, and dark oak. Like that's nice. That's not some bad work. I have to pat myself on the back with that one. Again, we've got our path designs. I always like to try and make things traversable. And then we've got this, and this is where we started to get into some color palettes. So we'll probably start to see this familiarity as we move in to Autocraft, where we've got the cobblestone and the tuff, and trying to blend that in. We've got a bit of spruce, and got our horses. Then around here, I remember this video for some reason did really well. This was my automatic wool farm. I remember the doors. The doors, they're really nice. Like the break up with the dark oak trapdoors. It's a really nice little feature. What it was just the wool farm in here, but for some reason that did really well on YouTube. You see we tried with the gradients again here. The one thing that I probably have moved on from here is just the random placement. I can't really see this now with what it's meant to be. What is it doing? Is it something that the sun is breaking onto the build? Or is it just me trying to place blocks here and there? So I think that's one thing that I've definitely learned, is that the placement of those blocks should actually mean something, as opposed to just being there for it to look nice. So I think we're heading down here. I have to say, I like these trees. I wonder if I've still got them on Lightmatica. I have to bring those back out. I think if we head down this way, we've got a dock which we put together. I think this was one of my first time lapses that I did on YouTube, and I remember it going horrendously wrong, because actually I didn't have Lightmatica at the time. So I remember just making this as I went along, and making something to go along in a time lapse. It's hard work. What's our horse's name? Bullseye. Very original. Got a fishing village over. Got an interior. I actually put some effort into interiors. What changed? I don't really do interiors now. But a nice little boat again with cranes. I think cranes seem to be a common feature of my builds in medieval style. So that is. We've got villagers over here. We've got our pathway going up. Nice little custom tree layout. And I remember following Fwip's tutorials for those, because he's kind of the stick tree. I remember looking out for those. They're really nice. Just putting those together. Then finally we have large biomes. So large biomes is our current series, our current survival series, and we're 2 episodes in as things stand. And this was quite an interesting challenge, because not only am I trying to stick with the gradients, you can see we've progressed, we've added andesite, but we're obviously limited by blocks when you start a large biomes, because everything is so far away. But we've got bricks, we've got granite, and we try to expand upon that. We've got our oak, and obviously in the last episode, this is what is probably one of my favorite pieces so far, is this bridge. And we really went to hammer with the gradients, and made again a point of it. I was saying with the last world, you want to make a point of what your gradients are actually there to do, not just throw them together because they look pretty. You know, this is because you've got water. You know, it's the idea that the damp is seeping up the build, and you know, similar over here. The lower areas, you know, tend to be where the damp might rise up, especially if you know, being thematic and it's medieval, you know, older times where things aren't necessarily maintained as well. You know, we even went to it here where we're back talking with the ground. We did it around here with the hillside. Didn't really show this in the episode, but you know, there is a lot of detail we went into. That, you know, apart from the foreground of seeing the bridge, it is there. We did a little bit over here. You know, texturing really does help, especially when you look at builds from afar. You know, I think it's a really common thing for people to say is you can just see builds amalgamate into one color, and I think that's where you get your texturing, you get your gradients in, and that helps things kind of look a bit more realistic, a bit more lifelike in the world. And that's something that is really important for me in building. And as you can see, my journey of builds has really changed. We have gone from squares to actually thinking about gradients, and I hope you've actually enjoyed this. This is a little trip down nostalgia for me, and seeing what was what, seeing how we got to where we are today. And maybe you've learned a little bit off me, maybe you learned how to make gradients purposeful, and you know, I'll catch you up in another episode. Go check out Large Biomes, go check out Autocraft, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.